السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وقال تعالى لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our nourisher, our sustainer, our creator. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who sent Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam as his final messenger. As we see the great and many challenges that is still unfolding, and while we make reflections on the condition and plight of the Muslims that are in India, also with reference to the citizenship and the new amendment bill of the citizens and the register and the recording of those that are, what they say of illegal, we find the great challenge that the Muslim is also facing in India. We hope and pray and make Allah Ta'ala make it easy and bring about a condition and ahwal that will remove them from this difficult and distressful condition. And while we witness and we see these in many places where there are so much of atrocities, we reflect and we think again on the life and seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we take, for example, the first hijrah and migration, where the Muslims had to migrate and move away from a place where they were persecuted. When we look at the many of the examples, even from the companions, the likes of Khabbab ibn Arat radiallahu anhu, can imagine and you see how he was persecuted, so much so that even a rope was tied around his neck and he was handed over to the children, and they would pull him along and drag him along in the streets over there in Mecca. And indeed we find that the condition was such that he also owed أَجَّعُوهُ مَرَّاتْ عَدِيدًا عَلَى فَحَامٍ مُلْتَهِبًا. Can you imagine if you have this cold and burning cold and he was made to lie on it? What they used to do also with him, وَدَعُوا عَلَيْهِ حَجَرًا. They used to place a rock on him, فَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُوا. It's like حَتَّى لَا يَقُومْ, and so that he could not even stand. Meaning, this is an example of how a Sahaba, a companion in the early years of Islam, so many were tortured, so many were persecuted, and see what type of challenges the Sahaba and companions had to face. We had even in the example of Bilal ibn Rabah, see how he was also persecuted. And indeed, when we think about Bilal radiallahu anhu, he is the slave of Umayyah ibn Khalf. فَكَانَ أُمَيَّ يَضَعَ فِي عُنُقِهِ حَبْلًا. Yes, it was with reference to Bilal radiallahu anhu. Handing him over to the Sibyan and the children, as we read in the Seerah. فَكَانَ أُمَيَّ يَضَعَ فِي عُنُقِهِ حَبْلًا. So Umayyah, now you have Bilal, he is the slave of Umayyah. And Umayyah used to place on his neck a rope. ثُمَّ يُسَلِّمُهُ إِلَى الصِّبْيَانِ. And then he used to hand him over to the children. يَطُوفُونَ بِهِ فِي جِبَالِ مَكَّةِ. And they used to move him around in the mountains of Mecca. حَتَّى كَانَ يَظْهَرْ أَثَرَ الْحَبَلِ فِي عُنُقِهِ. So much so when they used to drag and pull him, the athar and the marks would be found on his neck. Umayyah used to pull him, so it's like saying vehemently, and then hit him and strike him with a stick and an asa. وَكَانَ يُلْجِئَهُ إِلَى الْجُلُوسِ فِي حَرِّ الشَّمْسِ. And then make him sit down in the heat of the sun. Now when you think about this type of condition, here you are placing somebody right in the open space, and there's nothing between him and the sun itself, and when it is scorching, blazing heat. Can you imagine there you are in Mecca and you are walking in the sun, and for those who've been on many on this journey, when there is you go for Umrah, you go for Hajj, or when you are walking as you proceed to pelt even the jamarat and you feel the intensity of the heat, how many cannot even continue the journey because of the heat, and people suffer heat strokes and people cannot continue the journey without having water. Now you imagine this type of persecution on a companion, and this is Bilal ibn Rabah radiyallahu anhu. Not only that, we read in the seerah that they used to keep him also in hunger. وَأَشَدُّ مِنْ ذَلِكَ كُلُّهُ أَنَّهُ كَانَ يُخْرِجُهُ. That is so painful it was for him that they used to send him out while it was so very hot, and then again place a stone or instruct for a stone to be placed. ثم يأمر بالصخرة العظيمة فتوضع على صدره, and like a giant rock placed on his chest. Now here is Bilal radiallahu anhu. He is now being persecuted so much, and then he is also being informed that you will remain in this condition hatta tamut, O you Bilal Muhammad. Either you renounce your faith or you will remain in this condition. And if you worship Allah al-Izzah, so we find that Bilal radiallahu anhu, he was so firm and strong in his iman, and when he professed his faith, he would only cry out and say Ahad, Ahad, until they passed by him. Abu Bakr on one day, وَهُمْ يَصْنَعُونَ ذَلِكَ بِهِ فَاشْتَرَاهُ بِغُلَامٍ أَسْوَدٍ. So Abu Bakr on one occasion, and one day he passes by him and he purchased him. وَهُمْ يَصْنَعُونَ. And while they were persecuting him, and while he observed and seen how they were ill-treating Bilal radiallahu anhu, he purchased him and he set him free. So this is an example of a companion and a Sahaba. Now when we think about the early Muslims that had to move away from persecution, had to move away and make a hijrah and do a migration, when we think of all those examples in Sahaba, the likes of Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu, Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu, and indeed how Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he observed the likes of Abu Jahl and those that were persecuting the believers, when he passed by, Ammar ibn Yasir, not only did he embrace Islam, we have also his father, his mother, and the mushrikun, and from amongst the polytheists, the leader among them, Abu Jahl, they would again punish him while it was so intense, under the intensity of their heat. And as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on one occasion, when he passed by and he observed how they were punishing Ammar ibn Yasir, he said, Sabran ali Yasir, fa inna maw'idakum al-jannah, because your place will be Jannah. So this is the family of, that is Ammar ibn Yasir, that Yasir, he passed away because of this punishment. And Abu Jahl also pierced Ammar, the mother of Ammar. It is stated in that place, the private place of her, with a spear, and she also passed away. And she is referred to as the first Shahida in Islam, the first woman that was martyred in Islam. When we think about these many Sahaba and companions, those that were persecuted so much so, and many even with the reference to the verse of the Holy Quran that was revealed, من كفر بالله من بعد إيمانه إلا من أكره وقلبه مطمئن بالإيمان. The condition became such that just like how when a person is persecuted, and there are those who may outwardly have to give the impression as if though they had left their deen, but it was very clear that their heart was very firm in iman. Man kafar billahi min ba'di imanihi, whoever commits kufr in Allah after bringing iman, but illa man ukriha wa qalbuhu mutma'innun bil iman, except that one who is forced so much so that he may renounce his faith, but that is not outwardly. وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ, but his heart is firm on Iman. Now, there are many places and many, those that are in prisons and many who are in isolation and many who are incarcerated, and there are many whom are placed into certain types of concentration camps, and there are many who are put in such a difficult situation, and it is like saying when the test and the challenge come, there are those who may outwardly, as if though they had left their deen, but we do not know that in their heart their condition is such that today وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ, their heart is very firm on Iman. So given that the Muslims and the early Muslims were persecuted so much so, we have to reflect and think about why did the Prophet ﷺ instruct those Sahaba and companions to make a hijrah and migration. And this is again a verse of the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Kahf. We have Ashab al-Kahf. There is guidelines in this surah which is already giving the indication of those early Muslims when they recite and reflect on the Ashab al-Kahf. Why did the people of the cave, what made them make and move away from that king after they had brought Iman? They had to now seek protection. Almighty Allah Ta'ala reminds us in Surah Al-Kahf, وَإِذِ اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا اللَّهَ فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَمْرِكُمْ مِرْفَقًا. So the story of the people of the cave, how because of the fear of their lives and the fear of the being tested in their deen and the religion, and because when they had that tawakkul and brought Iman in Allah, وَإِذِ اعْتَزَلْتُمُوهُمْ, and when they moved away and what they were worshipping, وَمَا يَعْبُدُونَ, that is إِلَّا اللَّهِ فَأْوُوا إِلَى الْكَهْفِ. So where should they go? They had to go to that cave. يَنْشُرْ لَكُمْ رَبُّكُمْ بِرَحْمَتِهِ. So Almighty Allah Ta'ala out of His mercy would prepare for them something. وَيُهَيِّئْ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَمْرِكُمْ مِرْفَقًا. So these young boys and these young lads, they had brought Iman in Almighty Allah Ta'ala, and given that those who were persecuted and those who had to move away and seek refuge, the early Muslims also had to move away. They could not bear the torture, the pain, the persecution, and hence we have in our seerah the first group of Muslims that made their hijrah and migration to a place that is known as Abyssinia. So you had this first hijrah, and also you had the mushrikeen. Even though the Muslims had migrated and made that hijrah and migration to Abyssinia, they had also sent at that time two messengers, and one was Amr ibn As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah. So if we think about the Muslims that had migrated from Mecca, and when we speak about the first hijrah and migration, it is to a land, it is to a place where there is a ruler, and this Najashi, the Christian ruler, somebody that the Prophet ﷺ knew about his integrity as a ruler, and that he would not bring harm to those early Muslims who were facing the persecution by the Quraysh there in Mecca. So given that the hijrah take place, and when they go to the king and they say to him about those that had renounced their religion and the deen of their forefathers, and they are not even accepting the religion of the Christianity, for example, the Najashi and the ruler, he wanted to investigate this matter. Why are they calling them back? Normally, when we think about hijrah and migration, yes, we do remember that our Islamic calendar begins from the migration of the Muslims from Mecca to Medina. So this is even before the Hijrah. The first migration was not from Makkah to Medina, but it is to Abyssinia. And in Abyssinia there is the Najashi, a Christian, a good ruler. So he sent for summoned for the Muslimin. He called for them, and ما هذا الدين الذي فارقتم فيه قومكم. What is this deen? How is it that you are moving away? This religion that you have caused separation from your qawm and your people. وَلَمْ تَدْخُلُوا بِهِ فِي دِينِي وَلَا دِينَ أَحَدٍ مِّنْ هَذَا. So it's like saying you left your religion and you did not even enter our religion. And Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he was the spokesperson for the Muslimin. And this is very powerful statement. This is his response. And this is where we take great lesson from the words of Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. أيها الملك كنا قوما أهل الجاهلية. Now look at the condition before Islam. We were a people from, we speak about the times of Jahiliyyah, times of ignorance. نعبد الأصنام ونأكل الميت. We used to worship the idols and we used to eat the carrion and the dead. وَنَأْتِي الْفَوَاحِشَ. And we used to do a lot of fawahish and sinning, open sinning. وَنَكَتَعُ الْأَرْحَامِ. We used to sever the arham and the family ties and the kinship. وَنَسِيءُ الْجَوَارِ. And we used to also harm our neighbors. وَيَأْكُلُ مِنَّا الْقَوِيُّ الضَّعِيفُ. And from amongst us, those that were strong used to eat those that are da'if and weak. فَكُنَّا عَلَى ذَلِكَ. So this was our condition. See the condition of those before Islam. This is the reality. نَعْبُدُ الْأَصْنَامِ. Worshipping the idols. We were a people that we would commit sins, open sins. We used to cause inconvenience to the neighbors. We used to do this and such, and this was the reality. But now when Allah sent a messenger, now we knew our lineage, we knew we know his lineage, we know his truthfulness, his trustworthiness, and his that he is chaste. But what did he do? So these are Ja'far ibn Abi Talib is informing the Najashi about this messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. فَدَعَانَا إِلَى اللَّهِ لِنُوَحِّدَهُ وَنَعْبُدَهُ. And he invited us, that is, that we should only affirm our oneness in him, in the belief in Allah. And not only that, we should only worship, because فَدَعَانَا إِلَى اللَّهِ, he invited us to Allah. So now we know about him, his lineage, we know about his character, we know about his trustworthiness, we know about this person, but now he is inviting us because he has been sent as a messenger who has come to us, and he is giving us the invitation to worship Allah. And when we worship Allah, وَنَخْلَعُ مَا كُنَّا نَعْبُدُ نَحْنُ وَآبَاؤُنَا مِن دُونِهِ مِنَ الْحِجَارَ وَالْأَوْثَانِ. And we have to abandon what we found our fathers and ancestors, what they were worshipping other than Allah, that is worshipping the idols and the stone. And he had instructed us to be truthful in our speech and to fulfill the amana and to cement the relationship of the families and to be kind and good to the neighbors and to abstain from spilling the blood, and to keep away from fawahish and sinning, and also to keep away from false statements and falsehood, and to also keep away from devouring and eating the wealth of the orphan and slandering the chaste woman. وَأَمَرَنَا أَن نَعْبُدَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ. And he instructed us to worship Allah, worship him only, not to associate a partner unto him. And he instructed us to perform this salah and discharge this zakat and to keep the fast. And now many matters he was instructed us with regard to Islam. So who is giving this message? This is Ja'far ibn Abi Talib informing Najashi, the Abyssinian, the king, the ruler, about the reason why they had to leave the way of their fathers and ancestors, and how they turned to this deen and religion, worshipping only one Allah. So we followed him as what he has brought from us from the religion of Allah, and we worshipped Allah alone. We did not associate a partner unto Allah. And now you see that a people rose up against us. Our people, they started punishing us and persecuting us, and they put us to a lot of trials and tests in our deen, so that we return to worshipping the idols, min ibadatillah, so that we turn to worshipping idols instead of worshipping our Creator. And to bring us, to return us to do all those actions which we kept away from. So this is what our people want us to do. So when they started making life difficult for us, so when they started putting a lot of obstacles and restraining us, so now by them putting a barrier between us and our deen and our religion, kharajna ila biladik, we have left our home and we have come to your, meaning your country. وَاخْتَرْنَاكَ عَلَى مَنْ سِوَاكَ, and we chose you over others other than you, because we want to be your neighbor. وَرَجَوْنَا أَنْ لَا نَظْلِمْ عِنْدَكَ أَيُّهَا الْمَلَّةِ, and we had that hope that you will not oppress anyone from amongst us. So now Najashi, after listening to the statement, now he wanted to know, هَلْ مَعَكَ مِمَّا جَاءَ بِهِ مِنْ عَنِ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ, do you have any evidence to prove as to what you are saying? So Ja'far replied, he says, yes. فَقَالَ لَهُ النَّجَاشِي, and then in Najashi said to him, read it to us. And then he started reciting from the verses of Surah Maryam, Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. And when Najashi and those that were around him, like the bishops, when they were listening to these verses of the Quran, in Surah Maryam, they started to cry. And this is what we will continue discussing after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.